Okay, well, that's every lick I know. At least twice. And what I did to cover myself, because I wasn't sure if we were going to jam or not, is to prepare a couple of clinic sheets. Thanks, Mike Jones, for printing these up for me. I did a clinic tour recently over in the UK and Scotland, and these are the sheets that they gave out. They did such a nice job in printing them, I thought it was pretty convenient to have them done for you guys. And it's basically two concepts that I get into a lot in my teaching and writing, and that's phrasing and double bass, okay? And there's really a lot of stuff here, you know. I know there's a lot of great teachers at the Long Island Drum Center that can probably really take this a lot slower than I have the time to right now. So I'd really advise that you hang on to them and, you know, to get the most out of them. But I can give you a good idea in the short amount of time as to what the ideas are, what the concepts are all about. Phrasing is all about numbers, you know. It's really showing how mathematical drumming really is, you know. It's kind of dissecting it, you know, into like how many 4-note groupings we can play, how many 3-note groupings, 6-note groupings, 5-note groupings, and how we can rearrange all these groupings. For instance, if I were playing 16th notes, where the time was here, and I accented in 4-note groupings, all the accents would be right on the downbeat. It would be like, okay, pretty predictable, because every beat of the measure, you're going to another drum or hitting another accent. So the idea of phrasing is to try to come up with different multiple groupings, like 3-note groupings or 5-note groupings, which is what I have on these sheets, and make them enable you to make your fills a lot more interesting, okay, when you think in 3s and 5s. We're not dealing with odd time here, we're dealing with 16th notes. But watch what happens when I group in 3s instead of 4s. If I'm grouping in 4s, it's going to sound like this. Now, if I go from 4s to 3s, you'll hear the syncopation that the 3s project. Okay, so what you might do with something like that is what I do in number 1 on these phrasing concepts 3-note grouping sheets, okay? And that is, I say, okay, well, if I'm going to deal with 3s, I can put 4 3s and 1 4 and have a measure. And so what I did is I played right, left, left for the 3s. And I have a measure of 16th notes that's phrased a little differently than the predictable 4s or whatever, or 8s, okay? And that would sound like this. If I wanted to use that, say, as a fill. Okay? And what this sheet is all about is you play all of them with right, left, left as the 3-note grouping, and then you look at the end, you see A, B, C, D, E, F. Well, you can plug any of these phrases into the same 3-note groupings. For instance, if I plug C in, I would get, okay, and play that differently. All right, or I can play the flam one, which is D. Okay, so what I'm going to do here in 2, 3, 4, and 5 is show how those same note groupings sound when you just rearrange where the order is, okay? If I have one 4-note grouping and 5 groups, I can put it any one of 5 different places. And I'll show you what all of them sound like, 1 through 5. Okay, here's the time. 1 would sound like... you hear the difference in the way things are moving around. Okay, so like say number 3 as a fill can sound like this. Okay, depending on the sticking, the footing, I can play, really depends what I plug into the formulas, okay? And that's basically what it's all about. In 6 through 15, all I'm doing is taking the 4-note grouping and making it into 2 2-note groupings and then playing these numbers games the same old way. It's like number 6 would be like, or number 7, or I could play like right, left foot in the 3-note grouping. And number 7 can be like a linear groove, like. Okay, it's 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. So you can kind of do your own trick with this stuff, you know, depending on what you plug in, and if I play it as a beat, if I play it as a fill, kind of do your thing with it, you know. Rather than go through all this, I'll just kind of, like I said, introduce it to you. And then you guys can go take lessons from Joe Rendy, and he'll, you know, show you all the stuff, yeah, right? Okay. Okay, the next page is 5-note groupings. They're not much different, you know. Wow, is all these real light on the second? Okay, well, I'll just play a couple of things. Like number 1 is just 5, 5, 6, and what I choose as the 5-note grouping is I just take the right, left, left, and throw a right, left in front of it, and it becomes a 5-note grouping, you know. So it's like. Plugging some of the other stickings in, like the flam sticking. You know, you can get into a lot of fun kind of beats this way, like or a samba groove thing. Okay, and that's just 5, 5, 6. Okay, the same thing. And then the rest of the page is 5, 5, 3, 3. Same deal, you know. Okay? Like I said, I'm going to blow through this because otherwise we'll be here for a long time. And that's basically what this is all about. It's the same thing I did with 3s. You can plug different things in there. And 5s is a cool thing to get comfortable with, you know, because like it can make for real interesting phrasing when you're soloing, okay? Or when you're playing in odd times or something, okay? If you're playing in odd times, say I'm playing in 9 or something, okay? 9/8 is 18 16th notes. So I can play 8 16th notes like this. And then I can get the other 10 playing 2 of these 5s. And I can have something like. Okay, just using these things. Once you become familiar with them, they're not as tricky as they sound. Anyway, okay, so that's your phrasing bit. And now to give you an idea of what I do with this double bass stuff, I mean, if any of you guys seen the book or the video that I have out on the topic, you have a good idea what's going on with this. It's basically, all the things I do with my feet are real simple. It's just, okay, that's really all it is. And what I do is, I get a real good foundation of a single stroke roll leading with my main bass drum, okay? The reason I lead with my main bass drum is because for right-handed drummers, that seems really natural to want to lead with your right hand. There are other people who might want to lead with their left, okay, their left foot rather, because, you know, like a lot of guys like myself, learn how to play by playing 8 notes on the hi-hat. So your left foot was just so comfortable playing time that you just put the left foot over the bass drum and you just went. And I fall into that a lot myself. It's a very comfortable way to play. But like in order to really establish a more valid basis of your double bass playing and to be able to do a lot of like patterns like, say, two things where you're playing with your feet. You want to come down on your right foot on the downbeat of one because it's just more natural to me to pressure my right hand and right foot. That's why I got into this. And basically, I make patterns by taking notes out of the single stroke roll. So if you look at number 1, you get a single stroke roll that sounds like this. And if I look at number 2, I'm just going to take one note out of that roll. I'm going to take out the beat of 3. So like just picture yourself with like a blackboard, you know, and just take an eraser and erase notes and stuff. And that's basically how you get the system. Okay, so I'm going to take out the beat of 3. And I'm going to get this. Okay, and what it is just a funkier version of the old double bass roll, okay? What I can do is take out more notes, like number 3. And number 3 I take out the 2N and the 4N. So what happens really in number 3 is my right foot just plays this, you know? I can do things with my hands and just keep those feet going. Okay, so that's the idea here, you know. Same thing for triplets. Oops. Same thing for triplets. I'm going to take notes out of the single stroke roll. For triplets, the single stroke rolls sound like. Okay. Now by removing notes from that, you know, before you like even remove notes, it's good to understand what each foot is doing when you play that kind of a groove. And basically, the right foot's playing a quarter note triplet. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And I put my left note and my left foot in between. Okay, so now the beats that I wrote out are number 5, which is. And number 6. Play them in half time, you know, but the beat remain consistent, okay? So that's basically what I do, you know, to try to just make grooves a little differently. In grooves, okay? You know, different feels, funk kind of feel. For the headbangers. Headbangers. Okay, and number 14 is same kind of concept. I just replace a 16th note with 2 30-seconds, right? So I go from this to this. And we could take the standard Phil Collins fill and make it heavier. Okay. And last but not least is the fancy triplet. Going from here okay, always works, because you can always put your hand in the air and twirl your sticks if you know how to. I can't do that stuff. But Bobby can. Bobby Rondelli, everybody. That's it, you know? That's about it, you know? Like, I hope that helps you out. You know, just kind of take it home and fool around with it, you know, to get some ideas.
You're footing on the 13 stick. Did you bounce it all on your feet, or was it all single strokes?
No, it's single strokes. I never bounce on my double bass stuff, you know, because it's just like single strokes are just heavier. They're just meatier, you know. I mean, I used to do that before I got into the single stroke thing. I used to do things like play triplet, like left, right, right, you know, like so I play this way, I can play time with my left foot and do with my right. I would play my grooves out. But like it just isn't as heavy as alternating. Better sound, you know. So yeah, it's snappier. I play it right, left, right. You know, and you can think about it like 2 16th notes with kind of like a note squeezed in there and then the O2 spread out a little, kind of like. You know, so you can practice it like this. Try to get that 4-stroke rough effect. Okay. Hey, then you have to ask for questions, and he asked the question. You know how rare that is when you do a clinic? You know, it's always like the biggest horror of doing a clinic. You do your whole rap, you know, your whole boring thing, and you're wondering, are they bored to tears, you know? And then it's like, hey, anybody want to ask a question? Nobody, you know? Now, this guy knew he was going to have a few questions, so I think he actually wrote them out and put them. So, like, Andy Passarelli, ladies and gentlemen. What's happening, Andy? How was your clinic?
Fantastic. I kicked butt.
Andy kicked butt. Okay. What's up?
I bought 2 bass drums, 12 drums.
You can tell me about his clinic now.
21 cymbals.
21 cymbals?
21 cymbals. 11 cowbells.
Wait a minute, 11 cowbells?
Yeah.
What do you do with 11 cowbells? What do you do?
I did it differently.
Let's see. Hey.
Oh boy.
Go on there.
Any more questions? How did they follow that? You're not supposed to steal the show, man. That's Rod's job.
I was wondering, when you started your studio career, was it still when you were playing with the Rats in the 70s, or did you start your studio career later on in the 80s?
When did I start my studio career? Okay, I never considered myself a studio cat, you know, studio cat. I was like the rock and roll cat, you know. But I guess what happened is eventually, you know, like, you know, being in bands can be disappointing a lot of times. You know, a lot of things you think are going to be really great don't happen. You know, we all know that. And I think, you know, just kind of like one day I just told myself, like, after the Twisted tour really fell flat, you know, the 2-year tour became like a 2-month tour, you know. And I got home and I said, wow, another disappointment, man. So I just said, like, you know, hey, you know, maybe I should kind of see what I could do as myself and let people know I'm around and available rather than being on the road all the time, you know. So probably about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I just started getting involved in the studio. And, you know, with Vinnie Moore, with Leslie West, Lou Saraceno, you know, this new Baton Rouge band. And getting into the studio in New York means getting into playing drums and getting heavily into electronics as well.
Yeah, one more question.
All right, you pushing it.
First, I want to say thank you very much for letting me play your drum kit.
Oh, no
Secondly, you demonstrate that famous paradiddle thing you did last time, that from the top to the to its lips, so it's one time like crazy.
Oh, the backwards paradiddle. Oh, this is the lick he's talking about. It's like taking a paradiddle, but playing it backwards, starting with the double. So it's like right, right, left, 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 right, left, and you play it on the toms. And you put all the ends on the snare. 1, 2, 3. You do things over, you know, but that's all it is, a backwards paradiddle. Right? Cool.
The single stroke rolls and the double bass drum. I was watching you earlier and you were breaking them up.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you were breaking them up.
Right.
I was watching you earlier and you were keeping time on the left bass drum. Could you just demonstrate different sorts of patterns?
Well, it depends what you're, you know, well, it depends when you say keeping time on the left bass drum. Usually when I play those patterns, I'm actually playing eighth notes on the right bass drum. Like I'll do something like this. And then sometimes I might play a lot of lefts. And what I'm doing is I'm just playing this. And the left is playing all the ups. You know, same thing with triplets. And that's just basically that system, you know. You just leave the right out for a while and get all the upbeats. Back there? Playing and having some fun? I am having fun. Okay, I'm going to do that in a little while. We're going to get a couple more questions, and I'm going to have some more fun, and then Ron's going to come out and have a lot of fun. Premier speech. Yeah. Is that it? 5 minutes. 5 minutes. It's time to have fun. Thanks a lot for coming down. Thank you very much, Mike and Mike from the Drum Center, Long Island Drum Center, who put this on. Let's have a hand for them. And thanks very much to Tom Myers from Premier Percussion for bringing us out here.
Okay, everybody relax. It'll be about 10 minutes. I'd like to suggest...